Hello family of Fortnite, BallTW here, and throughout the Fortnite Champion Series, we're going to be trying to get more acquainted with the world of competitive Fortnite. Today, we're going to be discussing the 3 different stages of a competitive Fortnite game. The early game, the mid game, and the late game, and what different players have as their goals during these stages in order to achieve the ultimate goal, the Victory Royale. Let's start with the early game. Also called the looting phase, this is where all players are attempting to secure their chosen landing spot and maximize their loot potential. In competitive Fortnite, every game matters, so players try to strike a balance between high loot opportunity and safety so as to not waste a game by being eliminated early. Do you drop at a high loot POI like Retail Row or Paradise Palms? Or land at a safer POI on the edge of the map, where less players drop because of less loot. Regardless, the goal is common, whether you take a passive approach by looting you and finding early eliminations. Now that we know what the early game is, what should we be looking out for during this stage? First things first, being contested. The first realization players make when landing is whether you're being contested or not, to prepare for the upcoming possible fight. Trios want to try to force your opponent into the more disadvantageous position cut off from loot potential. Either they have to make a desperation push, or they're stuck with less loot where you can easily clean up. That's just the beginning, as even though it starts off high intensity with all the different POIs being contested, it quickly slows down as the rotations begin towards first zone. Looting doesn't end here, and most competitive players will have a loot path which optimizes their possibility for finding the crucial mobility and weapon upgrades. Thanks to the new battle map feature in the replay mode, we can study these loot paths and rotations quite easily these days. So go check that out in any replay from the Fortnite Champion Series by going into the Compete tab and finding your favorite player. It will vary from game to game, but generally, we move into the mid game around the middle to end of second zone. The mid game is the calm before the storm the storm circle gets too small where it forces the engagements. Most players' goals aren't positional, but in some cases, depending on how the early game went, between looting and farming, or going for the best position. Looting could include playing extremely aggressive to earn yourself other players' loot. In trios, it's much harder to play that aggressive playstyle, since fights take longer and cost more. You want to be efficient with any rotations or fights you have to take. You don't want to spend your precious mobility, valuable resources, or health. This is why you'll see a lot of the top players look directly for center zone in the mid game. When you're in the center zone, you end up giving yourself the most chance of being in the next storm circle when it gets revealed. You'll then have to go less distance and thus spend less materials. Finally, the end game, the most exciting, hectic, thrilling, and difficult part of competitive Fortnite. Experiencing an endgame can be confusing and hard to process, but it will also be one of the most rewarding and fun times to play and watch. This is when you take all the advantages you built in the early game and the mid game and use them to push yourself to a Victory Royale, and also find as many eliminations as possible. In the current Fortnite Champion Series format, every elimination matters, just like it did in the World Cup. From 6th zone onwards, where the calm from the mid-game explodes into a cacophony of tunneling, mobility usage, and shots being fired, you'll see teams go for the ever-so advantageous high ground, where they can tunnel very cheaply and have the most opportunity on the rest of the server for elimination, as they have the top-down view. You'll also see teams call out the need to find a good layer, which is away from other players, both above, below, and horizontally from you. You'll see teams desperate for the extra materials to last them through to the full zone closure, going for impact eliminations, where they can top off on resources and power weaponry of their fallen opponents. So, whether you're watching or you're joining us on the field, take stock in the stage of the game. The early game, when you're trying to get the best possible loot while it's still available. The mid game, where you're balancing positioning while maintaining what you built during the early game. And finally, the end game, where you spend all the advantages you set yourself up with to earn the Victory Royale. Use this to form your game plan in order to earn as many series points weekend after weekend. And maybe next time, we'll be watching and highlighting your top plays. This was BallTW, and I'll see you in game.
What's up everyone, Sundown here to bring you the latest installment of Plays of the Week. The final opportunity to qualify for the Fortnite Champion Series happened over the weekend, and a number of players were able to push their way to the top and make some spectacular plays. Let's dive in and see who popped off. Kicking off Plays of the Week, we'll start with Kurt down in South America as he lets no targets get away and says, "Not today." Staying down in South America, we're on board here with Nothing No Name, as he's able to pull off the hot feet flank and get the positional advantage to pick up a number of elims. Next, popping over to the Middle East, we have M. Siddig on the Tac Attack, going to work and eliminating the rest of the lobby. Now normally we say jumping on over, but this time we mean it quite literally, as 72 hours does the leapfrog to pick up an insane elimination. Staying over in NA East, we have the world champion solo player Booga, well, dropping his opponents down a level or two. Now, over to Europe as we watch Fnatic Provoked get himself out of a tight situation and be the lone survivor to run the rest of the lobby. Sometimes in Fortnite, you need to innovate a little bit, and right now Jordan uses everything in his toolkit to pick up 2 quick elims. And finally, over in NA West, is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's Rex getting his high ground shot out and going for a last-ditch effort to get everything he can. That's it for the top plays from the qualifiers, and the stage has been set as we head into the finals this weekend. Make sure to tune in at Fortnite.com/watch or in client, and we'll see you guys on the battle bus. Beep, beep.
Hey guys, Shio Wager here, and today we're going to be analyzing some of the biggest and most loot-heavy drop spots in the game. From everything to loot pads, timing, and fighting, the most crucial time that sets the tone of the rest of the game is the early game and your drop spot. Top trios have developed ways to split up and attack each of their drops in their own special ways, and we're going to dive in and see some of the basics of each of these spots, as well as who's utilizing them to place high on the leaderboards. Retail Row is an old drop that returns with a new twist in Season X, with both obelisks offering high priority loot and cube monsters offering free shield and ammo drops. Getting control of this drop fast and early can put you at a huge advantage endgame, offering multiple options from increased launch pads, excess shields, diverse utility, and big hitting weapons from all ranges. This drop gets split down the middle halfway, separated into the block tops and the houses/residential side. Most of the time, looting and moving is faster at the block tops, and an increased elevation on height by default allows for an advantage to whichever trio lands there compared to those at the residential side of the drop. With 2 vending machines and multiple chests available too, the trio that controls block tops controls the entire engagement, usually being the ones to come out on top. Mongrel, Benji Fishy, and Mitro have adopted and trained at this drop over multiple weeks of the FNCS, from forcing early game fights on blacktop to coming in late for third parties from the residential side. They use every advantage depending on the type of situation they have to beat other trios and win week after week, leaving the whole lobby scared every time they thank the bus driver. Happy Hamlet has been the drop most competitive players envy, with most chest spawns and many vending machines to boot. Having good options for rotations with ziplines and driftboards, as well as the option of excess loot to get snowside if you have zone, winning this drop and having room to play is a player's dream come true. Playing this drop, however, is very difficult. Usually with 2 to 4 teams contesting you because of how abundant and plentiful loot is, you will always have an uphill fight to face and conquer quickly if you want an advantage heading into mid-game. Taking fights here is all about who engages first and who gets to third party, with most engagements ending quick, as many angles taken are vertical, making it a lot easier to hit headshots for that damage multiplier. Close range box fights are also very common, with less room for mistakes and instant eliminations on knocked players, keeping all opponents healthy off of Siphon. Eclipse, Mega, and Dubs land at Happy, usually preferring the north side of the drop, and although might have trouble making it out of early game in a few of their games, the loot they get when the drop ends up working out sets them up for exponentially more points in the end game with lots of mobility, shields, and high rarity weapons to make big clutches with. Landing at powerful drop spots is a challenge that requires practice and teamwork to overcome. Being efficient with comms, having a plan, being prepped and ready, as well as adapting to anything you see on the glide are keys in being successful in the early parts of your game. Use that edge for a boost on the competition in endgame, securing good placement and elim points with your trio. And who knows, maybe you can be on the top of the leaderboards playing in the grand finals of the FNCS.
What's up, Fortnite fam? It's me, Zeke, and we're hanging out with our best friend, Sundown. We're doing something a little crazy, Sundown.
Oh, are we now, Zeke? What are we doing?
We are going to make some very bold predictions heading into the finals of the FNCS. We also have our friend Monster D-Face standing by and Shy Wager. Gentlemen, if you want to say hello.
What's up, boys?
Heyo.
Very quickly, within 30 seconds or less, you guys got to tell me your predictions for the region. All right, we're starting with Middle East, Sundown. Give me your prediction.
So everyone else went with Fiesel, Kappa, and Klops. They won 4 of the 5 times, but I think them splitting their trios might have given them not enough practice, so my bet is going to go towards Flame, Prime, and Hunter. Expect to see them challenging towards the top, and can't leave out Fiesel, Klops, and Kappa as well.
All right, Monster D-Face, OCE, go.
Honestly, I'm going to have to go with Geese, Slaya, and Skyla. And the main reason is because Parpy and his trio actually went to NA East, where you guys saw them dominate the region in Week 4. So with that being said, I know the X2 Twins are, kind of one of the fan faves coming up, but I think Geese, Slaya, and Skyla are really going to give OCE a run for its money coming up.
Now for Asia, coming back to you, Sundown, what are those predictions?
So Asia, and I've been pretty adamant about this, how there's been about 5 to 10 teams who are consistently up top, but my pick is actually the WGS trio of Jag, Horde, and QLO. They played over in Europe for the World Cup. They've had the most amount of experience. I think that's what's going to allow them to win out.
Sure. Speaking of Europe, Shy Wager, you're up.
You guys already know who the kings are of Europe, Mitro, Mongol, and Benji, but the only trio I think that can start a revolution are Stompy, Chinkin, and Aqua. They have a kind of counter play style. They already have a rivalry brewing with the kings of Europe, and I think these guys will have the edge taking it over at the end of the grand finals.
All right, for NA East, Shy, we're going to pick your brain again. Give us those predictions.
So one of the favorite picks to win NA East are Bucky, Animal, and Aspect, but I think the counter to that trio, who's really strong at the moment, is Clicks, Crims, and Spades. They play kind of a rugged type of low ground situation, always getting their win condition at the very end of the game. So I think their type of randomness and weird plays that happen at the end will have them make big plays to win at the end of the grand finals.
Now let's talk about Brazil. Gentlemen, I'm going to take this one. I'm going to make a bold claim here. I'm going to say the red trio is going to bring it home. Snow, Avalar, and Techno Viking. We've seen Techno Viking. He almost made World Cup qualifiers. Just barely missed out on qualifying. The same for Snow and Avalar. This will be their weekend. They're very hungry for the win. I'm telling you guys, they are going to do it. Now, finally, let's wrap up with NA West. Monster D-Face, give us your take.
I'd be crazy not to mention the trio, Scented, Rex, and Edgy, because they've been the most consistent in the NA West region. But I think another trio that can give them a run for their money is going to be Arkham, Falconer, and Vinny. And Falconer, by the way, the only free agent on this team here in the NA West, at the top of the board, still dominating. So I would love to see them come through and pull it big for the NA West region.
Some pretty bold predictions made across the board from everyone. Sundown, Shy Wager, Monster D-Face, thank you guys so much for hanging out. And for everyone at home, don't forget, tune in this weekend for the FNCS Finals, September 20th through the 22nd. You can watch at Fortnite.com/watch. And of course, guys, we'll see you on the battle bus.
Beep, beep.